So here we have it, folks, my full review on the Specialized Gen3 Levo. A lot of my friends and our viewers have been asking for it, and I said I did it already, and it turns out I did it in my old job at emtbr.com, and in my new venture E-MTB or E-MTBR, I don't have it. I've done so many articles on this bike against others, comparing it to others, how to configure the bike, but I don't have a full review of it. So here it is. I am going to answer the question, is it still the best? Is it still even relevant? Because it's still being sold. It's about 3 years old now, and I have the latest iteration right here. But what's really cool is on my personal bike, I ended up buying my test bike. I have 2,500 miles on it, so I have a lot to share about it. By the way, in this review, I'm gonna give you the real deal. I'm gonna give you pros and cons. I rarely hear of cons of this bike, and it's a crime because you're spending a lot of money. You wanna know what you're getting into, right? That's what people wanna know first, so they know they're not making a mistake because they're already like leaning towards it, right? So I'll give you some real cons. I'll give you some real data. So many people say, oh, it's kind of quiet, it's kind of fast, kind of like, I'm gonna give you the actual sound of this bike climbing up a hill, full boogie, and compare it to other bikes. And I'm gonna give you exactly how fast this motor is going up a hill. And how I do that is with power meter pedals. I time it up a hill, and I have like 20 bikes, including analog bikes, that I can compare to this one. I'll show you the table as well.
On top of the morning, on top of the wave, on top of the team, on top of the days, on top of my purpose. I create. Y'all wanna copy, but we're not the same. Sometimes when it can be dark, sometimes when it can be scary, sometimes you still gotta push on and just do what is necessary. You need that mindset, dog. You're just like a mercenary. You just gotta go push on. You just gotta go and get it.
So what is the bike? It is the Specialized Levo Generation 3. And the Gen 3 is very relevant because this is a whole new technology, and that's probably why the bike is so good when it was launched, when it was, introduced maybe 3 years ago, because it was the third revision of a pretty good effort, of a pretty good Generation 1 product. They've been doing e-bikes for 10 years in commuters and whatnot, and I have a whole team in Switzerland working just on this category of bike. So Generation 3 means they had a lot of time to refine it, and what they came up with was an e-bike that is really a powered version of the Stumpy Evos, the Stump Jumper Evo, one of the most beloved analog bikes around. And it is such a progressive but not over-the-top geometry with a lot of adjustability. So what they have is a mullet wheel size, 27 rear, 29 front, and they have a pretty good geometry, about a 64 and I believe a 76, but it is adjustable. This can be 63, can be 65. You could adjust the flip chip here to change the height. You can't put a 29er wheel set on it. You could do that on the new Levo cell, but not on this one. So they surrounded that with really good components. Specialized, we had specialized tires and saddle. 5 years ago, I wasn't that impressed. There were better people at the job making tires. But these new tires are just so good. The Butcher and the Eliminator, but the compound they really worked on. T7, T7, T9, T9, the higher the number, the more grip. They've really embraced the bigger tire size, the 2.6. They went 2.8, they went 3.0, and then they finally said, okay, 2.6. Always kind of awakens me like, wow, it's a really good combination. Fox 38 and then Fox X2 at the higher price points, they really understood what an e-bike needs. It needs a lot of suspension support. They always have SRAM, for better or for worse, and in this 2024 version, it is better. They have a mastermind TCU computer. They were anti-computer in Generation 1. They were like, nah, people don't need to do all that data. But they realized, hey, we need the data. Not everyone does, but give us the option to have as much data as we need. So they have a mastermind TCU computer. The motor is out there, one of the most powerful, biggest capacity in class. It is a 90 Newton meters of torque and about 550, 560 watts of power. The battery is 700 watt hours. They're one of the first to embrace, 700 watt hours. They said, okay, just give the people more battery than what they need and allow them to manage it with a very configurable app. So the number 3 part of this review is the ride quality. I could talk about the motor and the battery and all that, but first, it's a bike first. How does it ride? And this is really what Specialized has honed into in version 3 of the product, is they made it ride like a bike first. And their adage, their slogan is, it's you, only faster. And it really holds true. I'm like, wow, it's really me. It just on a very good day, twice my best day. And that's what it brings to the table. You know, descending, you can throw it around so well. It is so confidence inspiring. People tell you that e-bikes on corner better. It's because it's planted. You know, the weight right here makes you not slip out in front, and it gives you some warning signs. You know, when you're hitting the limits of the tire and your ability. So very good, and the fact that they have a Butcher T9 tire there is really good. This is one of the easiest bikes to ride fast downhill. They say be the best version of yourself, and this could really make you attain that. Be the best mountain biker of yourself, because you know you're descending and it gives you a lot of warning, a lot of feedback. This mullet wheel allows you to just carve it. Why is a 27 wheel important? It's because you know you have a lot of weight here. You want to lighten this up, you want to make it lively, but you want to get down low as well. When you have this wheel this size instead of here, you're able to make the seat tube lower, and that allows you to get lower. So your natural position with the saddle drop is lower, and then when you get back here, you're not hitting it on a jump or when you're just getting rad. So really, and with that kind of position, it really makes a difference when you're trying to change direction. It just seems to kind of want to sit in a corner. You know, on those berms, it's a berm machine. It's so cool. So descending, cornering, pretty darn good. You know, jumping, it jumps, but you have to exercise proper technique, meaning you can't just lift it. You have to jump it, plant into a corner and unweight, and then this thing will take off. All right, number 4 part of this review, I'm going to talk about climbing. The motor and the feel, the power. We're going to get to the nitty-gritty, the noise. So first, the climbing is good. You know, mullet wheel size, the horse link suspension. I think one of the reasons why they're so successful in e-bikes is this suspension is very good at technical climbs. You know, it just keeps moving. You know, it's well balanced, and now they have a little rearward travel path. It's really good. What you get is good transfer and a lot of traction. So it's really good. The position, not the steepest. Now let's get into the motor. Very natural, very supportive. On turbo, they give you a lot of boost and a lot of overrun, meaning it keeps going even after you stop. So you have to be aware of that. That's good for really technical rocks and whatnot. But in actual climbing, gives you a lot of support. Very tunable as well with their mission control app. Eco, Trail, and Turbo has so much tunability to allow you to climb. So what I did is I did how fast does it climb? You know, compared to a Bosch, compared to a Shimano, compared to an SL. And let me give you some data right here. And now for speed, this is unique to emtbreview.com. We test the speed of the motor with power meter pedals. That way we can eliminate the input of the rider. I keep it constant at a 200 watt average, and I just put the motor on full boost, full turbo, and I go 1 mile and climb 525 feet. And here it is. I've done this about 50 times, maybe tried 20 different bikes, and I'm able to get consistent, repeatable results. And here are the results. Cut right to the chase. The 2023 Specialized Levo climbed up in 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Pretty cool, huh? But that's only meaningful relative to other bikes, right? So the closest one is the Fezzari Tim Peak with a Shimano EP8 motor, and all the EP8 motors, they climb about this rate, 525. So you can see how much faster the Levo is compared to the Shimano motors. And finally, the Bosch CX Race is at 443 about 5 seconds faster. And for reference, on an analog bike, I'm able to climb Blur XC in about 16 minutes with the exact same power output from my legs, 200 watts. So that's the hard data. It's basically a few seconds slower than the Bosch Gen 4, which is the best of the best. It's quite a bit faster than the Shimano EP8 motor. So just an amazing motor right there. The other part is the noise. Now let me show you the noise of this motor. This is about 100 miles on it. On my bike with 2,500 miles, it's way louder, and that's in the weaknesses part. But you know, on a fairly new motor, this is the noise compared to the competition. And here's some sound data. GoPro Hero 10 unadjusted volume at full turbo mode. And something to note is the sound of the tires on the ground and the sound of the shifting, so you have some relative comparison. So that's the noise. It's on the quiet side and it does get louder. Realize that. And finally, getting to the motor and battery, how is the noise descending? And this is where this bike shines. There's no noise. You know, they've really made so many attempts to make sure, and that's why the cabling is so different. You know, you have to unplug the main cable when you're charging it. That's for noise, because anytime you have a little spring-loaded battery to motor connection, those things make noise and rattles. It is one of the quietest bikes and motors around descending. Okay, the fifth part of this review is the battery and the range. How is the range? Really, I should start with that because that's what people always ask. How's the range on that thing? How many miles can that thing go? So the range is, I would say, in the 90th percentile, 700 watt-hour battery. They were the first to start it. Really cool that they went 700, and that's why this bike is still so relevant, because it has the right size battery. You know, if it had a 500, can't sell it. 600, hard to sell. So, and some people are now going 750. So now this is becoming, you know, you're gonna have to go on Eco to keep up with your buddies for the 750. But because of the 700, and it's a legitimate 700 that charges well, it's got good range. And the range I always like to calculate in terms of altitude, because whether you go you could say, hey, this can go 30 miles and this can go 80 miles. It depends on how mountainous the terrain is, right? But altitude is always altitude. So for a person like me, 160 pounds, used to be 150, going up a hill with good effort, 150 watts on my legs, I can climb about 6,500 feet on Eco Trail, and that's pretty darn good. Next part I'd like to cover is the configurable geometry of this bike. It's kind of a highlight, because when you buy a bike, you're like, trail bike, cool, but you know, what if I want to take the North Star, or what if I want to do some cross country? So the geometry is configurable, and they thought about that. And how they do it is with an adjustable headset that's built in, and you can go, this is like 64, you can go 63, and then you can go 65. So quite 1 degree range whenever you change headset cups, and it's fairly simple and very reliable. No creaks whatsoever. The other way to change your geometry is with a flip chip right here. So you could lower and raise the bike, you know, about half an inch. For the most part, it gives you peace of mind that you're not stuck on a very specific bike. Also, it gives it more legs. Part of keeping it relevant is, hey, maybe in 2 years, 63 head angles are the way to go. Next part, a highlight of this bike is the Mastermind TCU computer and the Mission Control app. So they have a little computer here. It's a little too small because it takes the place of the old Switch. I wish it was bigger, but it is so good. So good. I mean, I just revisited it this week, and I put a video here on just the radical things they've added to this thing. So, but there's about 40 fields of data that you can display to you in real time while you're riding. And what are they? Aside from a bike computer, like distance, altitude, speed, average speed, all that stuff, that can all be done right here. But you can also have heart rate. Now you can have cadence, you can have motor power. How much power is this thing delivering? How much are you delivering? Because it has a torque sensor, it'll tell you. Really amazing, and it can allow you to really use this thing as a workout machine. You can match this ride you have here with your analog bike in terms of how many watt hours or kilojoules did you do. And at the end of the day, it's all about how much you put out, whether you're on a 15-pound bike or a 50-pound bike with a motor. The other thing you can do is you can lock your bike. Basically, when you're going into somewhere, you put a small lock, you put a big lock on it, and then you say lock, and it will display locked, meaning the motor will not work anymore until a code unlock is delivered. And a few others that can are really cool. It has jump statistics. When you jump, it'll tell you how long, how far. So very, very powerful, and it keeps evolving. All right, number 8, probably the most important part for you guys. What are the cons of this bike? The motor on the Generation 2 would fail a lot. So they've done a lot of work to really solve that issue. So many versions, and I've been through a lot with them. I worked a lot with them. I broke my Gen 2 motor at least 5 times. So they just replaced it. The warranty is very good, and they're very aware of the problem. They even extended the warranty to 4 years while they were figuring this out. So this is a 2-year warranty, and the problem is the belt. Why it's so quiet is it's belt driven. They haven't changed the fundamental design of the motor, so it's not completely absolved of those sins. So the motor can still fail. I have 2,500 miles on my S-Works, and no, it still works. It's loud now. On my old bikes, on my Gen 2, after 300-400 miles, they would start failing. And that's because I always ride on turbo, and I go just drain the battery every ride. Some of my friends, maybe 4 or 5, have broken their motors with about 1,000 miles. So it's still breakable. And luckily, they just warranty it, no problem. Given that you don't break your motor, one thing, and that's kind of a touch and go, is it will get louder over time. And I've seen this in almost all the motors that I've seen. I think the belt they use now is much harder, and maybe the sound insulation and the grease kind of wears down, and so after like 500 miles, 1,000 miles, the motor will get quite a bit louder. They won't warranty it for loudness, but they say, hey, as it gets louder, if it breaks, we'll take care of that. Another weakness was the Fox X2, 2021 to 2023 models. They all leaked and broke, either the team or whatnot. And I had mine rebuilt 2 or 3 times. Same with my friends. Good for 500 miles, and then it leaks air again. It turns out it's a Fox problem. Fox will actually warranty it, give you a $700 factory team model. If you have this issue, just ship your old one back. Another weakness I would say is SRAM. They're a SRAM shop, and I didn't like the drivetrain for e-bikes because it was too fast, especially the access stuff. And I said, man, Shimano, it should shift so much smoother because it's more deliberate, more shifting ramps. So I consider that a small weakness. But the bigger weakness in the SRAM is the brakes. So they're tied to SRAM brakes, and man, the brakes were plenty good codes, but when it comes to e-bike, 5,000 foot of descending every day, hits their limit. Weaknesses, I would say the charging port is a weakness. It's a little bit inconvenient. There's 2 doors that you have to do, and that door is much improved. Nice weather sealing, but it's in the way and it rips off. They have a hinge now, a metal hinge, to replace the old models, but it can still rip off. It's just in a very vulnerable spot, and often if you get it wet, if it's not pressed in hard enough, the bike will stop working. And it's because they always interrupt. When you charge it, you always take out the main live wire of the motor to the battery, unlike most bikes. And that's why this bike is prone to, very sensitive to dirt and water whenever you charge it. The weight is kind of an issue. This is a 50-pound bike in the $12,000 Pro model. So it's not light. They optimized for rideability. But if you're concerned about weight, if you want a 45-pounder, 46-pounder, this might not be the one for you. And the motor bulge right here, it's always bothered me. It just makes it look so e-bike. There's more streamlined designs now. And that's the reason is so they could slide the battery out, make it removable easily. I was super honest about the bad stuff. What about the pros? The pros, Everything I've said, how quiet it is, how supportive the motor is, and how natural it feels, coupled with a really good bike underneath it, that's really what you need. And the range, you're not gonna run out when you're with your buddies with a 700 watt-hour battery. So really, really a good solution. Mullet, a couple upgrades here and there to personalize on what's holding you back, and it is a great solution. So definitely a pro and very relevant still. The other pro is so many price points. The one I got was 15 grand. That's now dropped to 14. But they have cheaper $6,000 carbon models, and they have aluminum models. Aluminum, I'm a huge proponent of aluminum because it's what makes it affordable. And you don't want to hang on to these bikes forever. Technology is changing so fast. So I always advise my friends, buy the alloy model and upgrade the brakes, maybe the shock. So many options. And then with the post-pandemic supply chain issues, there's so many of these on sale now. So if you can grab one, the deal my friends were getting was just amazing. 2 batteries for a carbon model for under 5 grand, well under 5 grand, was just amazing. Like 10 of my friends bought one. And that's kind of why I want this video, because so many new owners are out there. And so many are still on sale as they try to clear out inventory to make room for the new stuff with the T-type transmission. So just a compelling machine, not without problems, but with a good dealer support. I've had other direct to mail order, consumer direct bikes. When you get a motor problem, well, man, they try to help you, but man, what a nightmare. So having a local dealer to pick this up from and bring this to when it needs help is a godsend. Very strong dealer network for this bike. So it's not a new bike. It wasn't released yesterday or today, but so it's a little long in the tooth, but it has aged very gracefully. And the question is, my conclusion is it still the #1 e-mountain bike in the USA or in the world? I'm not sure. So you have to hang on for that. But definitely, it's still in the top 3 elite. Even though it's not the young buck of the crowd. There you go. Thanks a ton, everybody. If you're an owner or if you're a prospective owner, please share with us your viewpoints, your upgrade suggestions, and just share the stoke about this bike or other e-mountain bikes in general. Thanks a ton.